The Speed Force, or whatever is the new source of Wally's new powers inside of this absolute universe, has been incredibly violent and unpredictable, mysterious even, yet here we get to see some of its weaknesses and pretty overpowered strengths. Wally, currently underground in the sewers, confronting this absolute version of Heatwave, which instead of just a guy with a gun or a heat gun, he's just a monstrous lava creature who doesn't even seem to be human anymore. Wally even going on to say that this creature, this monster, is going to kill him if he doesn't find a way out of here. That is until he looks into his eyes. Wally feeling some sort of connection, like he knows him somehow, subconsciously reaching out to the creature to make contact. But just then his powers interacts with heat waves and it starts to go off, sending bursts of energy attacking the creature and hurting it. As Wally even goes on to say, that's when the idea hits me. What if I'm the monster? Heatwave, now being hurt though, sees Wally as now a danger and goes to attack him. And while Wally is fast, able to dodge any of the attacks, his powers, which are not the Speed Force but very Speed Force like in the absolute universe, start to go haywire. It's just like in the desert all over again. He's slowly coming apart from interacting with the creature and whatever power source that's here. The creature having the same idea though, to get out of there and out of the sewers, as he emerges and starts to attack the people there, the civilians. Wally, while he is down there though, fully decides and makes up his mind to play the hero, even though it is dangerous and potentially he could die if things go wrong. He decides to not only put on the suit but actually use his extraordinary new abilities, even if they are very confusing and unclear what their purpose are, but he decides in using them to protect others. As well, up above on the surface, the creature is about to just kill and burn two innocent civilians alive, until Wally, of course, is able to zoom in and knock the creature away. The only problem here, even though Wally is in costume, some of the people here still knows it's him. He isn't wearing a full mask like Spider-Man or anything. His eyes and face and hair is all pretty visible and still pretty recognizable as Wally West. Though secret identity is aside, that still leaves a bigger picture of getting this creature out of here and away. The only problem is, how do you stop a lava creature or monster you can't even touch or fully grab to get away here? You would just burn yourself trying. Wally even saying the same thing. It's not working. How do I even stop this thing? Talking to the little gorilla Grodd, the companion on his shoulder. And Grodd simply has 4 words. Heat. Wally, take the heat. Which one is pretty vague advice, but it actually does work. Wally outstretching his hand and his powers, his lightning or electricity, whatever it is, the source of his abilities, interacts with the monsters, absorbing the monster's powers or energy or whatever have you, which is going to be a recurring theme, so just keep this in mind. And Wally seems to absorb it into himself, charging him up like a battery, making him even more powerful, and just storing all this power within him until he just can't take it anymore, and suddenly he is somewhere else, somewhere out far into the cosmos or in otherworldly place. Now, it's unclear if he is actually physically here or if this is more of a mental projection or a vision of some sort, but while he is here, Wally hears another voice, a voice calling out his own name, and whatever entity this is seems to want Wally, reaching out to grab him, and presumably because Wally overdosed on energy and the things fueling his power source, and knowing the fact that this universe, this absolute universe, has no Speed Force to speak of, potentially Wally is tapping into Darkseid's own energies and powers, meaning once he is overloaded with that, he is sent to this almost realm where he is closer to Darkseid himself, or his presence and energy, if you will. Before anything more can happen, the Wally wakes back up in the present, being confronted by Ralph Dibny, or otherwise known as in the main universe, Elongated Man, and then even seeing the aftermath of what happened. The heat wave, the monster that he was fighting, once he absorbed and took all of his powers, it reverted him back to his base human form. And now with this entire situation going on, everybody's just looking at Wally like he's insane. What is this new costume he is in? What are these abilities that he's been showing and creature he has been fighting? Even Linda, the only friend he has made here so far, tries to help him, but Wally knows if he stays here, not only is he not safe, but everybody here, as just in the government surveillance, finds him, forcing him to retreat and leave this place permanently. The same government organization that is hunting Wally down is ran by Eleanor Thawne. Yes, so even in the absolute universe, even in different forms that it would take, a Thawne, even though it's not Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, but a Thawne, nevertheless, is still a thorn inside of the Flash's side. And the reason why she is so hell-bent on hunting him down is because he has been the only true success in Project Olympus, whatever experimentations they've been going on and doing and trying to create for whatever plan that is not fully revealed yet, but Wally has been a breakthrough. And so, of course, they need him back to fully find out why. And while they would prefer Gorilla Grodd back in One Piece as well, he isn't as important as Wally, so he is expendable if necessary. And on the same team of the other villains as of now that are supposed to be hunting him down is also his father, who kind of got Wally into this mess in the first place. Though while he is here at the base getting debriefed by Eleanor Thawne, he decides to wander off, sneak off, and do a little bit of snooping on his own, finding some things that he probably shouldn't have, finding whatever alien technology that they've been using during this experimentation in the actual creatures themselves, which is not only supposed to be super classified classified and a secret highly kept, but it is also one that he wasn't supposed to see, as he is swiftly captured and detained. Well, more importantly, he's about to be executed. They're about to kill him for seeing what he wasn't supposed to. Though in a life or death moment, he makes a deal. The only thing he's really here for and wants to see is his son safely back and not out there potentially to be killed as well. So of course he decides he'll not only stay on the team, but he will do whatever she says and help to get Wally back here safely, back into their possession. Though that does leave one pretty big question. What even are these creatures and pods and stuff doing here? Thawne going on to say that these aliens here, these are our predecessors. They found it first, they beat us to it. Now that leaves a question of what exactly did they find? Though not a what, but a whom. They found God, which of course in this absolute universe is Darkseid, which would make sense if the theory of Wally's power coming from a source or an energy source of Darkseid, they of course would want him back to see how he exactly taps into this and how they can as well. Though for now, cutting over a couple days later, we see Wally still on the run. You know, he has no safe place, no home, no real base of operations, especially because at every turn he's being hunted down and potentially could be captured. He does his best just to try and survive. And because there is not only a giant thunderstorm going on, but they're also pretty much starving at this point, they here decide to go into a random gas station. Now, a couple things to note here. One, with Wally being 15, he has no money, no credit cards, whatever. So, you know, he's going to have to get creative in how he's going to get food from this gas station. And secondly, as they are walking inside, Wally looks at his reflection through the mirror, and without him realizing, it changes. And of course, we know Mirror Master, one of the Flash's iconic villains and rogues, is here and on the playing field. But as he goes inside, he tries to do it the normal way first, you know, asking for permission, saying that, you know, he's really down on his luck, he doesn't have any money, but he's really hungry and just trying to get home. Of course, asking for sympathy that the clerk here or store owner doesn't give any, as she goes on to say, I'm not running a charity here, so no money equals no food. Wally obviously knew this was going to happen, so he goes on to say that I'm really sorry and I normally don't do this, but if I can, I'll find a way to pay you back, as he uses his super speed to just grab everything he can throughout the store. Food, snacks, items, drinks, anything that can keep him sated for the journey ahead, because while he doesn't have the speed force here, he still is a speedster, meaning his metabolism is dialed up to 11. For him to use his powers and speed, you know, he has to be constantly burning something, fuel, energy, calories, which is something here he doesn't have. And even as he just uses powers, yeah, it seems like all of his reserves and powers are all taken up, as he then passes out from the exertion of using the speed on nothing but fumes. And while all of this is happening, his other rogues and the team sent to hunt him down is getting closer on his trail, even with the giant and almost unnatural thunderstorm in the background. But eventually Wally does wake up and finds himself in the middle of a prison cell, because yes, while he did just faint and pass out and could be hurt or need medical attention, he was in the middle of committing a crime, you know, stealing. So he wakes up on the other end behind some bars. The cop even going through Wally's stuff and backpack, finding his super speed suit and questioning what even is this and what is Wally into. Though before he can say anything even further, the wall just explodes and the other rogues and villains finally close in on Wally's location, which of course is horrible news for him. Not only is he behind bars, no suit, Grodd is gone, but also he is at his weakest right now. He's running on fumes and his powers won't work, and if he tries to use them, he'll just pass out from the exertion again. So realistically, he is at the mercy of the other rogues and villains here. Though they do decide to come to a little bit of an agreement. Captain Colt, the leader of this group here, goes on to say, here's the deal, we can also track down Grodd. So how about we get you out of here, and if you promise not to pull anything funny, we'll find the monkey together and get out of this place. And with Wally having quite literally no other options, he's forced to agree. And now as we cut over some time later, we find not only Wally is suited up, but he is now refueled up. Eating some energy bars to get himself back up, now he can use his powers and super speed again. Not only that, but they have tracked Grodd down to where he is. But unfortunately, he's like right smack dab in the middle of this giant crazy storm with winds more than 200 miles an hour. Everybody else deciding, you know, we're not going to risk our lives for a stupid little green monkey, so let's just cut our losses and go back. Wally is pretty much on the opposite side of that spectrum. You know, he isn't just going to sit by and let Grodd, his only real friend through everything, just waste away and die out here. So now with him being refueled up, he zooms off. Though he is running right into the middle of a giant lightning storm as he gets struck by a ginormous bolt of lightning, just completely frying him. Now, I'm not sure if these are particularly as strong as normal in real life lightning, but you know, the Flash usually doesn't have any sort of enhanced durability. Like, he is still as strong as a normal human. If he gets cut, stabbed, or shot with a bullet, he will be affected just like any other human will. Yet here, Wally is able to tank the lightning without too much of any major injury. And eventually, as he comes to, he finds Grodd, or more accurately, Grodd finds him. The reason why Grodd snuck off here into the middle of nowhere into the storm is because he found the culprit behind everything. Someone who he's just referring to as Storm Man, as we finally see who it is, this absolute version of Weather Wizard. Going from his usual design looking like an off-brand version of the Riddler to now looking like an off-brand version of Thor. But we do find out that much like every other problem here and every other person with powers, they all come from the same place, Project Olympus. And Weather Wizard here makes it pretty clear that he would rather die than go back there. Of course, instantly attacking Wally and Grodd. But Wally just tries to get through to him to convince him that, you know, they're on the same side, that Wally was there too, he is from there, and that he is also against them as well. Even name dropping Barry Allen, who was kind of like a very short-lived mentor to him. But this kind of just sets Weather Wizard off as you go on to find out that Barry Allen was the one who did this to him in the first place, changing, experimenting on him, and making him into whatever he is now. Wally, of course, just being overwhelmed by the power, lightning, and ferocity of Weather Wizard here. And this entire time, you know, Wally has kind of been pushed around. He has never had a moment to fully let loose, to fully give everything he has and dish it all out. But that all stops right here, as once he is hit by another bolt of lightning, Wally once again tanks it and then looks up saying, you know what, I tried to be nice. And I admit, letting that lightning hit me hurt like hell, but it got me thinking, what if I don't let it hit me? What if I let it inside? As he just starts to absorb the same energy, the lightning, the electricity, much like he did with Heatwave earlier. Now it's unclear if this is just because they all hail from Project Olympus, meaning whatever experimentations were done to them makes their power sources similar enough for him to absorb, or if he can just absorb any type of energy or source. But whatever it is, it does seem to charge him up. Him even going on to say, you know what, suddenly I'm not hungry anymore, just oozing off his own power and electricity, before now laying the beat down on Weather Wizard, ending this entire battle and this raging storm within one good strike. Which again is good, yes, that he is taking down the villain and getting rid of this problem, but he's also getting rid of Project Olympus's problem, because many of these experiments escaped, and now with Wally going around taking them out, he is kind of just doing the organization's dirty work for them. And even as the other rogues and the team sent to hunt him down arrives to him back again, Wally makes it pretty abundantly clear that, you know, he is not going back, getting ready for another fight to defend himself if he truly has to. Though Captain Cold goes on to say something very interesting. He says, neither are we. Because think about it, they're the weapons now. Even though they don't have certain abilities and powers like Wally and some of the other experimentations that we have seen, their powers are mainly tech-based and the weapons they've been given them. But now with them, they can just do whatever they want. They don't have to follow the orders and directives of whatever government organization that was. So he also goes on to extend the invitation to Wally, saying, how about it, kid? Do you want to go rogue? Which of course makes for an interesting twist of events. You know, Wally, the Flash, teaming up with, which usually is his worst villains. Instead here, it seems like they're going to be allied against an even bigger threat, Project Olympus, and whatever crazy plan they are scheming. Though that is something that we're going to see in the next one as this issue and video comes to a close. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, or subscribe if you're new and want to see more content just like this. As always, this was AJ here at The Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.